This channel is supported by TrueFire. TrueFire is an online library of lessons from some of my favourite players. There's thousands of lessons on there. You can use the promo code JNC40 to get 40% off of any of their courses. Okay, so I wanted to revisit this Fender Standard Stratocaster because I read some comments on the video, and I think there's a chunk of people who are not that happy with what this guitar is, and maybe we're not the target audience for it, but I think it's worth sort of discussing, as it's the biggest guitar company, and for me Fender is like the most important name personally within the guitar world, or has been. Maybe it's not anymore. So what is essentially wrong with the Fender Standard series is not for me that it's got a Poplar body, not for me that they've not used a Rosewood fretboard. This is Indian Laurel on here. It's not for me that the neck is kind of on the skinny side. What it is for me is that they've essentially taken what an entry-level Fender is and turned it into basically what an entry-level Squier is. What I mean by this is these things here, which are probably one of the more important elements on the guitar in terms of getting a thing which sounds like the thing is supposed to sound. Now, actually I find that in isolation, ceramic pickups do not tend to sound too bad. I did have someone comment on the video saying that they sounded quite dull and uninspiring, so I'll just do a little bit of comparison between these ceramic pickups and some Lola Dirty Blondes, which are going to be a bit more in that 50s style. The issue with it is that, and I guess this is kind of going to be one of the things, it's marketing, isn't it? But Fender are calling it really good value for money, and the people selling them, but also like they use words like authentic tone, while at the same time you've got ceramic pickups in here. And essentially, I guess my main gripe with it is that this probably is a guitar that could have been perfectly well suited if it said Squier on the headstock. As it is, it's like this weird point between a Squier and Fender where it's actually got some specs which are kind of worse than Squier, and at the same time doesn't really get that close to a Player 2 in terms of specs. When it comes down to actually playing, is pretty nice to play, actually, I have to say. I still haven't adjusted this trem, but let's just hear. So I'll give you like an E minor. That's my kind of gripe with it, is that I feel like calling this like the standard, which it says here the standard is set, like they're calling this the standard. It's not really what it is to me, and sticking Fender on it, you know, it does actually kind of make you really think about this stuff a little bit different. Like two guitars coming out of, presumably, so this is designed in California, made in Indonesia. I presume there are also Squiers being made in this particular factory, right? Like the specs are very similar. The only real difference in a lot of ways is that this decal here, which is, you know, a pennies kind of thing, is going to be different. I would say it's not bad. Like there are a few dusty bits, and some of the fretboard edges are a bit not super problematic. Like this is in general pretty good work, and if it was a Squier I think I'd be impressed, but it says Fender on it and it's £500, and I think you could probably do better than this for £500 in today's market. It's kind of my issue with it. So I'd love to know some of your guys' thoughts on this, if you've got any in the comments. Does this bother you? Or maybe you're not really that interested in like entry-level guitars anyway. But to me, it's not that the guitar itself is bad. It's kind of what it's pitching itself as, which I'm not totally okay with, if that makes sense. And there are plenty of Squiers out there that have proper pickups in them. Like, so the classic vibe Squier probably, I would say, is going to outperform this in terms of tone. Those have alnico 5 Fender design pickups in them. These are your bog standard ceramics. The actual setup of this guitar and the frets feel pretty pleasant, so that is a good thing with this. Like, it's not a bad guitar at all, but when they're calling it the standard, and when it's come out of Indonesia with ceramic pickups, which they're saying are the authentic tone, I don't know, it just feels to me like you're saying a thing about a thing, and it's just not what the thing really is. But in any case, I guess the guitar is fine. I'd love to know some of your thoughts if you guys get to try and play one, or what you might buy instead, if there are any options. Yeah, it's in general not bad. This is just came out of the box from Anderton's. I like the colour. I think it's going to... How does that thing look? I think it actually looks quite inviting. And it says Fender on it, which is, I guess, what Fender are banking on, that people aren't going to necessarily look into it too deeply at this price. They just think, well, I know the name Fender. Is that how this works? I buy the Fender, that's the trusted brand.